We've discussed the numbers on the walls, but now Sun Tzu takes us to a single point of failure or success in any nation: the leader. This lesson makes a bold claim. The military leader is the foundation, the very bulwark of the state. One ancient interpretation of the Chinese ideogram for this role is a pole that supports a chariot's frame. If the strut is strong, the chariot flies across the battlefield. If it is weak or missing, the entire vehicle, the entire country, collapses into the dirt. Sun Tzu is very clear. Command is an earned right, not a birthright. A leader must be chosen based on their grasp of the complex subject of warfare, not because of family connections or social privilege. In the early months of the 2022 invasion, many analysts pointed to a culture of corruption within the Russian military hierarchy, where positions were often held by those loyal to the political center rather than those with tactical brilliance. In contrast, we saw the rise of a new generation of Ukrainian commanders. Since 2014, the Ukrainian military shifted away from the old, rigid Soviet privilege system towards a NATO-style meritocracy. Leaders were promoted because they showed initiative on the front lines. Sun Tzu would argue that Ukraine's survival was largely due to ensuring that the Chariot Strut was made of hardened steel, not decorative wood. To be a leader of the highest caliber, you must be two things at once: an expert and an innovator. If you know only the ancient principles, you become a relic, predictable and caught in the past. But if you innovate without understanding the foundation, you are reckless. We saw this caught in the past trap in the use of massive tank columns. Russia's initial push towards Kiev used 20th century grand maneuver tactics. However, they were met by innovators using 21st century technology, handheld NLAW missiles and commercial drones. The Ukrainian leaders didn't forget the basics of ambush. They built upon them, making the traditional Russian expertise look like a liability. Sun Tzu issues a dire warning. Because the general is the foundation, an unsuitable person in command doesn't just lose a battle, they can bring down a country. When an incompetent leader is given the reins, they cause restlessness in the soldiers' minds and shake the confidence of the people. Once an army loses trust in its strut, the state begins to wobble. The war tip for this lesson is the simplest, yet most ignored rule in history. Never put incompetent people in command of an army. It sounds obvious, but competence in Sun Tzu's eyes means somebody who can adapt to circumstances. In the modern war in Ukraine, we've seen that the most effective leaders are those who listen to their intelligence officers and empower their subordinates, rather than those who demand blind obedience to a failing plan. A nation's strength is not measured by its borders, but by the quality of people it puts in charge of defending them. If the leader is a solid strut, the nation stands tall. If the strut is defective, the nation fails. Remember, expertise is the foundation, but innovation is the edge. To summarize this lesson, the leader is the single point of national stability. The Chariot Strut. A state depends on its military leader to hold the frame together. Meritocracy. Command must be earned through a deep understanding of war, never through social status or who you know. Adaptation. A leader must balance traditional wisdom with modern innovation to avoid becoming predictable. In the invasion of Ukraine, we have seen that hardware can be replaced and territory can be reclaimed. But an incompetent command structure is a rot that can end a nation. As Sun Tzu said, the general is the bulwark. Make sure yours is complete at all points. As we conclude our look at this lesson, we are left with a striking image. the general as a central strut of a chariot. It is a reminder that in the high-stakes machinery of a nation, the military leader isn't just another officer. They are the structural integrity of the state itself. We have seen in the modern theater of Ukraine that when this strut is forged in merit and innovation, it can hold up a nation under the most extreme pressure. But when that strut is made of brittle wood of privilege and incompetence, the entire vehicle of the state begins to splinter. Let's recap the essential qualities of the Bulwark leader. Earned authority. Command is a science and an art that must be mastered, not a title to be inherited. The balance of time. To be effective, a leader must be an expert of history but an innovator of the future. To rely on what worked yesterday is to ensure defeat tomorrow. The weight of responsibility. Because the state depends on the leader, an incompetent appointment is more than a mistake. It's an act of national sabotage. Sun Tzu's final war tip serves as a stark warning to every sovereign and every citizen. Competence is the only currency that matters in war. When the person at the top understands the adaptation required by the circumstances, the soldiers find their confidence, and the state finds its strength. But once that confidence is shaken by an unsuitable leader, victory is flung away. Stay merit-driven, stay innovative, and ensure that those who hold the weight of the nation have the strength to carry it.